Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the ATU Sports Corner. I'm Brandon Moix. That's Caden Hauser, and we're going to be giving you our rapid-fire takes on the NBA playoffs so far, going series by series, starting off with the most lopsided one so far, OKC and Phoenix.
Yeah, this series, I don't think it's going to be close. I've seen enough on TikTok about how people are saying that this series is just completely one way. The line for tomorrow's game, them and the Pistons, 2-1 seeds, they will play on Wednesday. Thunder are 17.5-point favorites. That's pretty crazy for a playoff game. No Thunder at home. Had a great game one, held the Suns to 35% from the field. I see no way the Thunder lose this game, and they're the best team in the NBA.
Yeah, not too much to say here. The Thunder are clearly the dominant team in this series. Devin Booker is doing his best, but there's just too much to drag for that Phoenix team. So I don't think there's going to be very competitive for them. But the next series had a very interesting game one, Houston and LA.
Yeah, this is a series that I think could shape up to be one of the better ones, especially in the West. Them and Nuggets Timberwolves are probably the two best series in the Western Conference. And the Lakers had a great showing from Luke Kennard in game one, very surprising. And they could potentially steal another game here tonight if Kevin Durant doesn't play. We were talking about that a little bit before the show, if he was going to play tonight, potentially not. If the Rockets want to win tonight, KD must be present, and he must shoot the ball efficiently. I think the Rockets got to take one at home.
Yeah, lots been made about the Lakers' injuries, but to be honest with you, I think the team that's been more affected by injuries in this series so far is the Rockets. Durant missed game one along with Steven Adams and Fran VanVleet, who are not going to be playing at all in these playoffs. But Durant, like you said, has to come back for this team to really compete. And if they don't, man, the Lakers might just be able to get away with one. But a team that stole one last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves, went on the road and took down the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, this is a really good series. I enjoy watching these two teams play. I feel like we've seen them in the playoffs a couple of times now where the series gets really interesting. Jokic had a pretty good night. Jamal Murray was lighting it up in the first quarter, had multiple and-one threes. And the Timberwolves just really closed this game out nicely, especially after facing an early run by this Nuggets team. They came out guns blazing in that first quarter. They responded nicely. Julius Randle scored 8 of their first 11. He had a great game. Timberwolves looked pretty nice. They stole one from the Nuggets. It's going to be interesting. Now with it in Minnesota, Denver has to get one back.
We talked a lot about the other guys in this series for these couple teams, and in game two, that was the story for these bench guards for the Timberwolves. Bones Highland and Ayo Dosunmu played absolutely great in their limited minutes, and for the Nuggets, Jokic needs to be more aggressive scoring the ball offensively, in my opinion. Jamal Murray's been very good in that facet, but whenever the other guys don't have it going as much, Jokic has to be that dude for them. And that moves us on to the last Western Conference series, Spurs and Portland. Not a great game one.
No, and I mean, if you're Portland, you're going against a freak of nature in Victor Wembanyama. There's only so much you can expect from Donovan Clingan and the other Portland bigs who's facing Wembanyama, and then followed by these great guards in the backcourt for San Antonio. Only so much you can do. Danny Avdija is doing all he can for that squad, and there's really not too much you can expect. I think the Spurs take this series, especially within 5 games. I think they could take it in 4, and they just look pretty dominant.
Yeah, the Spurs looked great in game one. Portland had a really tough time scoring the basketball. Drew Holiday, especially 4 for 15 from the field. I expect to see more from him in game two, especially if Portland wants to keep this series competitive. Scoot Henderson, I thought, did play very well in his minutes in this series. He's been banged up throughout his entire career. A lot was made about the matchup of Scoot and Wemby, but I do like to see Scoot succeeding in some fashion, even if his team isn't having the most success. He's a guy I've really believed in a lot since his career started. I know a lot of people gave up on him. I like to see the success. But that takes us over to the Eastern Conference, where we had a 1-8 upset. The Orlando Magic took down the Detroit Pistons in game one.
Yeah, this was really surprising. The Magic winning this game was something I would have never had on my scorecard, especially in Detroit. And I didn't even think the Magic were going to make the playoffs. I thought the Hornets, they looked phenomenal to finish the regular season and got a really good draw in that final play-in game against the Magic. And, I mean, they just got the brakes beat off of them in that final playoff game. It wasn't even close. I checked the score. They were down by 30 at halftime, it feels like. Paulo Banchero is playing really good basketball, and that's what you love to see as an Orlando fan. He had 23 in that first game. And Detroit, you have Cade Cunningham back. He scores 40 39, close enough. And that's not enough to win at home. That's very worrisome if you're a Pistons fan.
Yeah, K was incredible. He had 39, like you said, but Jalen Duren, man, he got his lunch money stolen by Wendell Carter in Game 1, and he wasn't the only one. Tobias Harris was awful from 3. Danis Jenkins didn't play as well as he needed to, and if those guys are going to get outplayed by the likes of Jalen Suggs and Anthony Black and Goga, I have a hard time seeing the Pistons living up to that 1 seed in this series. I still think they can get the job done, obviously, but it might be a little bit of a disappointment in round 1 if those guys can't get up to speed. But the 4-5 matchup has been very lopsided, not unlike 4-5 matchups have normally been with the Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, I thought the Raptors were honestly going to put up a pretty good fight in this series. They ended up cutting it to 10 at the end of last night's game, and they were really close throughout the end of the third, heading into the fourth. And I thought they had a chance to steal this one, just like another Eastern Conference team did last night. But the Raptors unfortunately couldn't close it out. James Harden is playing really good playoff basketball. He had 28 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He had 5 turnovers, matched that with 5 steals, though. So Harden showing himself in the playoffs. It's been great. Donovan Mitchell also having a great series so far. The Raptors heading into Toronto now, you got to take 1 and really 2 if you want to stay in this series.
Yeah, the Stars have been really good for Cleveland, but what hasn't been good for the Cavaliers is the bench. They really have not performed very well at all, and I think that will be the opening if the Toronto Raptors want to get back into this series. But if they want to take advantage of that opening, Brandon Ingram just has to be better. He has not been good for the first 2 games of this series. 3 for 15 from the field in Game 2, and it was absolutely putrid offensively in general, but especially in that second half, he felt like he was scared to even shoot the ball. That can't happen. He needs to be the leading scorer for these Raptors if they want to have a chance, and he's just got to get it going. But talk about a guy getting it going. C.J. McCollum last night for the Atlanta Hawks pull off a little bit of an upset in New York.
This was an amazing game to watch, first off. That was probably one of the better playoff games I've watched so far through what we've had. And to close this game, the Hawks did a phenomenal job. C.J. McCollum missed those 2 late free throws, and he really harped on that in his post-game interview on the court. And it was like, man, I really should have made those. So seeing that accountability after having a huge game like that, you'd love to see it from the veteran. And the Hawks really just played a good game overall, and they really battled back even when Jalen Johnson wasn't putting up great stats to start the game. Brunson stepped up. Anthony Towns, he played all right. He could have been better. And then Mikal Bridges, what did you think of that final shot by Mikal?
Got to get to the rim in that spot. Absolutely cannot take a pull-up jumper there.
He had a path to the basket or even pass it off, but anything but a contested mid-range.
Yeah, but I tell you what, the other guys for the Knicks haven't been all that, but they have been for the Atlanta Hawks. Jonathan Kuminga and Onyeka Okongwu were absolutely incredible in that game last night. And I know Nickeil Alexander-Walker didn't have the best game offensively, but he had that huge strip on Jalen Brunson down the stretch to put the Hawks in a position to win. But the key thing in this series for me, the small guard ain't dead, baby. C.J. McCollum and Jalen Brunson are playing great in this series, and C.J. McCollum, I know especially with his age, a lot of people were doubting him. It's nice to see him really playing at that high of a level in this point in his career. But takes us on to a little bit of an anticlimactic in the last series of the first round, Philadelphia and Boston.
I'd really like Boston to put up more of a fight in this series, but in Game 1, losing 91 to 123.
Philly lost.
Philly lost, excuse me. Putting up that type of fight is not good. I mean, it was in Boston. I understand that, but Maxey, he did okay. Shot 8 for 20. Not great. And then the rest of the team really just didn't play great. Jaylen Brown had 26. Going to be hard to stop him and Tatum. The Celtics team, I think they're probably by far and away the best team in this Eastern Conference still, especially after the Pistons losing Game 1. The Celtics look heaps and bounds better than everybody else in this Eastern Conference, and I expect them to take care of the 76ers in 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, it's hard to envision a Embiid-less 76ers team putting up much of a fight in this series. Jason Tatum and Neemias Queta were really the main guys for this one for me. Jaylen Brown obviously was his steady self. Derek White, I feel like, didn't even really play that well, and they still absolutely throttled them. I have a really hard time seeing Philadelphia play at a very high level in this series, especially if Tyrese Maxey is only going to shoot 8 for 20 for 21 points. It's tough envisioning a series where this goes well for the 76ers without Embiid. But that's about all the time we have for you. And that is the last show for the Sports Corner for the semester. But we do have our Super Show coming up next week. Be sure to tune in on Monday. But that's all the time we have for you. See you next time.